Are you tired of your local government making poor choices? Do you feel it is your civic duty to complain about your local politics? Do you feel that you could run your city better yourself? Well, if so, then join me as we play SimCity for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This game came out for the Super Nintendo in 1991, but few people actually know that this game was actually originally slated to be ported out for the original Nintendo. But of course, by 1991, the Super Nintendo was already out in the market, and SimCity was an obvious candidate for the Super Nintendo. It had more horsepower, Super Nintendo had better graphics, so it could handle the game a lot better. So let's begin. There are three options to choose from in this game. We have a tutorial mode, or a practice mode, that is. We can start a new city, which means we can just pick any landform we want and kind of freestyle it. Or we can select various scenarios. Since this game has a lot of information behind it, it's easier if we go through it kind of piecemeal. So what I'm going to do is select a practice city. And welcome to the world of SimCity. Alright, sounds fair enough. So our first goal is to build a city with a population of 30,000 people. That seems reasonable. We can do that. And here's Dr. Wright. Oh, he just tripped and fell flat on his face. Oh well. So we've got to build a power plant, then add 3 types of zones: residential, commercial, and industrial. Then we've got to connect the zones of power, and then add roads. That seems pretty straightforward. First of all, I'm going to bulldoze this little area over here so you can see that sometimes you have a little bit more land than you originally think you will. And if you bulldoze the coast a little bit, you can kind of see that. And I'm going to bulldoze the coast over here too, just so we have a nice little section to start off with. Now, on bigger landforms, well, and let me say, in landforms that have more land to them, this will become less of an issue. But since this area is really small, I'm just going to go ahead and bulldoze the edge a little bit. Now, we have room for nuclear power plant here, which is nice. And I'm going to put some power lines over here. And there's actually an auto bulldoze feature that we can look into in a moment. But first of all, we need residential, commercial, and industrial zones, right? Well, I'm going to put 2 commercial zones right here, because it looks like this is kind of a little area for that. And I am going to, well, just to show you, you can actually pause the game, and you can change the speeds of the game and whatnot. You've got 3 different speeds, well, 4 different speeds technically. You can pause it, you can go from walking speed to a run, but we're going to leave it at walking speed for now. And I'm going to put up maybe 2 more commercial zones here. And we've got roads or rails as far as transportation goes. I'm going to put in a little bit of road for now, and the rest I'm going to put in as rail, simply because rail is better. There's actually kind of a deficiency in this game where the engine or the game itself is not aware of how roads connect to themselves. So if you have road or rail, all it needs to go is from one zone to another zone. Any type of zone to another type of zone. As long as it connects from one zone to another, it usually should be okay. So we'll be alright. And I'm going to put out a few more zones here. We're going to need some residential zones. We need some places for the Sims to live, or our citizens, that is. So I'm going to put some residential zones here. Actually, that was kind of a mistake. I want to shift this residential zone a little bit up further. There we go. So if you make a mistake, you can easily bulldoze something, and that's nice. And we got some Sims already moving in. And this area doesn't have power, but it's easily fixable. You just put up power lines, and that fixes that. So I'm going to put some rails down here, and I'm going to put some more residential zones here, and, and more rail here. And you don't have to follow this pattern. There are other patterns you can use in terms of your zones and your transportation. You can use what's known as donut block, but I actually don't like donut blocks that much because this is actually a little more efficient technically because you can squeeze more zones in. And here, space is at a premium. When we have more space, we can be a little bit more liberal, I suppose, with our zoning and everything, so we'll be okay though. I'm going to put a few more commercial zones here. And I'm going to scooch everything over a little bit towards the top of the island. We also need industrial zones. And this is going to be a little bit too close to residential zones, I think, for industrial zones, but I'm going to kind of make a little buffer. You'll see. Okay, great. And I'm just going to kind of fit as many as I can here, industrial zones. And that should possibly be okay, I don't know. I may be able to fit more in there. But first we need power to the industrial zones. Industrial zones give you a lot of pollution, so it's good to put them away from residential zones, but we'll be okay. I'm going to make sure this connects up a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. And by the way, this is mentioning the RCI graph, which is a residential commercial industrial zone meter. Well, I'll let you read this here. But this will give you feedback on how many zones you need, or what the demand is for your zones. So we need some rail here. And this zone's covered, actually. Yeah, I think I'm going to stretch this out just a little bit. And I'm going to just connect up a little bit more. Because I need these two zones here to be even. So I might as well do that. And don't worry about your industrial zones being too far away for now. Because we'll be able to manage it. And we've reached our first milestone, by the way. We're now a town of 2,000 people. So that's pretty nice. And our background music is now pretty calm and relaxing, which is nice. We don't have enough room for our citizens to really live, so what we need to do is add some more residential zones. Resad zones. So let's do that. And this is our first gift, by the way, which is our own house. People will want to move next to your house, by the way. So it'll increase property values and population around the area. So what I'm going to do is, since the base is at a premium, I don't want to use donut block just yet. But I'm going to put a house here. I think that'll work. I'm going to put some more commercial zones over here. And we can see our town is already growing a little bit. I'm going to redo this. I don't want the commercial zones too close, because we're going to need some residential zones. I'm going to make some mistakes and screw around a little bit in the tutorial, so just an FYI. We can have a little bit of fun. Okay, we got, I think we got enough so far. It looks like we need some industrial zones. Bad, though. By the way, the meter is over here. The RCI meter. You've got residential, commercial, and industrial demand. If it's down here, it's negative. If it's above the RCI meter, it's positive. So there's a high demand for industrial zones right now. So let's add some more. And I think everything's going swell so far. And you'll notice with the roads, you'll see that there's a little traffic and congestion here. What I'm going to do is, since we're running a little low on money, we do need a little bit of police and fire protection. So I'm going to put up a police department, 2 of them actually, and maybe one more over here. Well, yeah, one down here will probably do well. And let me connect it up with a little bit of power. And I think that's pretty good. We also need a little bit of fire protection, but fire departments are kind of a waste of money. Simply because all you need is one to make sure the residents don't complain about not having a fire department. And if you have a fire, there's a way around it. So don't worry about fire protection. It's a waste of money. It really is. Spend your money on police department protection, or police departments. And I think our city's growing somewhat. We've got 5,000 people, that's nice. I got some more room for residential, but it seems like we need to have a demand for commercial and industrial, so I'm going to put some more commercial zones up here. Another thing you can do, you notice here there's a little bit of open area. We can put parkland here, and parkland will actually improve the desire for Sims to move into a particular area. So you might as well use it. Now, we could probably fit another zone in here, but the problem is that we'd have no transportation for this zone, so this will work. And it doesn't look like this zone here has a good connector. I find sometimes with the industrial zones, sometimes you kind of have to screw around a little bit, because sometimes they may be a little far away, even though the demand is high, they don't want to grow just yet. So sometimes you just have to kind of wing it. Now we have a commercial demand, and our population is getting higher. Another thing I want to mention is there's different types of zones. I'll go over this in a later episode, because there's actually a graphic from the manual that I'd like to show. But you have a white sort of residential zone and a brown sort of residential zone. And by the way, Dr. Wright has interrupted us, being polite that he is. And we'll talk about the budget screen in a few minutes. Or actually, probably less than a minute. But anyways, back to the zones. This is the highest commercial zone, and this is kind of a medium commercial zone. There's an option for, well, we had a city, by the way, which is our next milestone for 10,000 people. So that's pretty nice. And now the background music has changed once again. But anyways, if I don't get interrupted, we've got now a SimCity savings and loan, and this is good for a commercial area. It's a nice gift. It'll actually add property values to your commercial zone. So I'm going to put one up there. And we could probably use a little bit more property value there. You don't have to connect it with roads. But once you have a SimCity savings and loan, this pops up. You can actually take out a $10,000 low-interest loan. So the interest is just $500, and you pay $500 every year for 21 years. It's not worth it, really. I mean, you can spend all your money and just wait a while and get the money back, so I think it's kind of silly. But we reached 10,000 people, and I think that's a good milestone. Let's see how far we can get with a few more minutes. I'd like to see if we can get to the budget screen in this episode anyway. Industrial zones could use a little bit more growth, I think. They'll get there, though. There's a lot of congestion there, isn't there? Right here. See, this is what happens when you have roads. Is you'll have some pollution there, and you'll have congestion. So I think we'll probably get rid of that soon.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88. Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Hopefully I can do this before the budget screen runs out. I'm going to put rail here. Well, I didn't. We'll get that in just a moment. Anyways, this is our fiscal budget screen. We can set tax rates. I would probably want to set it at 7%. If you set it higher, then people won't want to live in your city, and if you set it lower, you may not have a budget. So, I think that's good. Fire fund, you can actually take this down a bit and save a little bit of money. Like I said, I mean, just increase the fire fund if you want, and then you'll figure it out. If you have a fire, deal with it later. But right now, I don't think we're going to have a fire in the city, so I'm going to go with this. And let me finish out the rail here. Well, hang on. This is talking about the menus, by the way. We've got kind of a graph icon for information about the city. We have a file menu, or a file folder icon. And they also have a Dr. Wright icon. I'll get to that in just a moment. I want to fix this first. We need some connection here. It says fire departments need funding. I'm not worried about that. If they gripe and complain, that's what they do. But here you go. Okay, now to go over this, first we have this little graph, collection of graphs. We've got a map here. And the map can show us things like crime rates, population growth, things like that. Like, this is population density, and this is population growth. So we're getting some growth. I think that's good. Crime rate is probably not too good at that at the top of the city, so I think we're going to do something about that soon. Pollution's bad over here. You see we got a little speck of green here from the road? That's what happens. Now, land value. You can see land value is really high towards the middle. And sorry, I got out of that too quickly. Alright, land value, you see it's really high around the water, and towards the center of the city. So that's good to remember too. And this will show us our police and fire protection. So it doesn't seem like we have a good police radius up here. And it seems like there's a little bit of crime. So what we could do is we could put a police station right here, or we could put one right around here to kind of help with the crime. So I'm going to put one right here. Don't worry, our city's going to grow. We just got bulldozed some Sims. They have to live somewhere else now, but they'll be okay. They'll manage. And we're a little low on money, but I think we're about to hit 20,000 people, so we're doing all right. Yeah, there we go. Our city's growing, I think. Also, this is the file menu. This is if you want to load and save your game, you can do that. You can go back to the menu and whatnot. So it's nice that this game had the ability to save your game. Of course, they would have to. Yeah. And also, this is Dr. Wright. He'll give you advice every now and then. So he's talking about housing costs. I think we're okay for now, though. And by the way, if we wanted to take out a loan, we just click on here for the bank. And I don't want to take out a loan, though. This just kind of explains it, but we're not really pulling in that much money a year anyway, so we're not... I mean, a loan would just eat up all our money, so... Actually, you know what, we could possibly afford it? Let me look at the budget screen. Give me a second here. You go into tax here, and that's the budget screen. I'm going to fund the fire department a little bit more. It's complaining at me. Let's see our current funds only go from 181 to 406. If we have a loan, we're going to start losing money. So, yeah, I think we're okay. I think I'm going to end the video right now. And this is a good stopping point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the game just so there aren't any big updates between episodes. And I may get a little bit more money and let the game speed up a little bit between this episode and the next. I don't know yet, but we'll see. So thank you so much for watching Let's Play SimCity, and have a wonderful day. Bye.